Yeah, Avik, I want to go at this a bit because it seems to me that this is a very delicate sort of space for Republicans to walk on this, right? On the one hand, if you are running against a Democratic incumbent, you want to place any kind of scary, sort of moment that we find ourselves in as a nation at that incumbent's feet. But if it's an incumbency issue, that means then that Republican incumbents would be equally open to this kind of challenge by Democratic challengers.
Yeah, one of the things that's really interesting about foreign policy is that when the president went into Syria and Iraq and authorized this military intervention, actually a lot of Republicans supported him.
So, it was one of the first times John Boehner said, let's give the president what he wants.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's important to know that whatever Republicans are doing to criticize the president, when it comes to foreign policy, there is this view among Republicans that, look, we have to support the president when it comes to foreign intervention. And I think it is legitimate to ask any congressman, Democrat or Republican, are they doing the responsible thing when it comes to foreign policy? Whatever you may think that is an appropriate point of a campaign.
Okay,
American forces will not be returning to combat in Iraq. As I've said before, these American forces will not have a combat mission. We will not get dragged into another ground war in Iraq. I want to be clear. The American forces that have been deployed to Iraq do not and will not have a combat mission.
But no matter how many times the president says it, an NBC News, Wall Street Journal, Annenberg poll just released this morning suggests that Americans aren't believing it because 72% of them believe the U.S. will ultimately use American combat troops against ISIS. And in addition, something like 68% of Americans think that our current plan is simply not enough. So if you have an enormous number of people who think it's not enough, that we are going to send combat troops, I think you're right. We do have to have a robust public conversation. I'm just wondering if these campaign ads, do they initiate? They could be bad ads and still initiate that kind of conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that some of the ads may not actually make the coherent foreign policy discussion that we need to have.
Really? A campaign ad is not doing that?
Yeah, but it is an important question, right? And why is the president's approval lower, even though people generally support what he's doing? It's that perception that he doesn't have a strategy, or that he's so ideologically committed against ground troops that he's not willing to do what's needed in the case of tackling ISIS.
Well,